Okay, hello. Welcome to the second session of the Volunteer Leadership and Philanthropy Learning Track. My name is Michaela Stevenson. I will be presenting on today's session, as well as moderating the Q&A portion of today's call. Excited to be with you here today. Today's session is titled Corporations Who Care. And during today's session, we'll feature 4 speakers, including myself, who will share experiences with advocating for corporate giving and starting philanthropic endeavors in our workplace. We hope that throughout this session, you will learn how you can inspire your workplace to support the mission of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and become a corporate champion. Please join me in welcoming my 3 fellow presenters, Emily Bridges, Maribeth Bendick, and Evan Moore. Great. Welcome, everyone. A little bit of housekeeping. Our speakers will share their experiences during the first half of today's session, and the second half of our call will be for questions and answers. Please use the Q&A feature to submit your questions and not the chat box, so we ensure that we don't miss any. But do feel free to chat with members from across the country in the chat box, and make sure you select everyone when you are chatting and letting us all know who's here. So we're super excited to get started. I will go ahead and kick us off and just chat through myself, how I'm involved with corporate philanthropy in my organization, and then we'll run through everyone and make sure you're getting those questions in the Q&A box. So a little bit about myself. I am the Director of Community Relations and Investment at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. We are located in Kansas City, Missouri, on the Missouri side, but Kansas City does straddle Kansas and Missouri state line. So we do work with a couple of counties on the Kansas side of the state line. My role with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City is we manage employee volunteerism, we manage sponsorship requests and nonprofit funding requests. We have some specific focus areas around food access, health equity, maternal health, and some other key education initiatives, those types of things, mental health. So we really work closely with a lot of our community partners to help get them the funding that they need to provide services that they need. We work with other internal partners as well within Blue KC to further their community engagement, both on the employee volunteerism side, but then also when it comes to sponsorships. So we work really closely with the sales team around sponsorships that they're engaged with. We have a community health team that focuses on population health and health equity and really work to fund in the areas that they're focused on. We also really engage with our ERGs and provide opportunities for them to get out and volunteer with the organizations that mean the most to them, as well as with our HR and D&I partners to focus on the causes and organizations that help to further their goals as well. I have been with Blue KC for almost 10 years, which seems crazy at this point, that I've never worked someplace that long. But it's a great job, and I love serving our community. Before coming to Blue KC, I was actually with the American Red Cross, and prior to that, I was with a little card company called Hallmark that is located based out of Kansas City. Through Hallmark, I got involved with nonprofits, and I can talk a little bit about that in a little bit. I do serve on a couple of boards here in Kansas City. I'm currently the board president for an organization called Nonprofit Connect. It is an organization that helps to support networking, training. We facilitate speakers coming into Kansas City to talk about the nonprofit sector, engage in learning, and various other duties as assigned within that organization. And I got involved with that as a young nonprofit professional. There is a networking group that they have that is set up specifically for those who are new to their nonprofit careers. Not necessarily young per se, you can be any age, but that was back when I was kind of new to my nonprofit career and looking to better understand what the nonprofit sector was all about. So it was a great opportunity to sort of dip my toe in the water of nonprofits and learn more. I also serve on the board of the Kansas City Public Schools Education Foundation. We have our own specific challenges here in Kansas City with our schools district. So it's really a passion of mine to help support teachers, help support education in the city, and really make Kansas City the best place it can be to live, work, play, and raise a family. I've also served in various roles as a Arts KC, which is our local arts foundation, as a co-chair for their main event for the year. I volunteer for United Way and have been a longtime supporter of United Way. I'm also a former board chair for the Boys and Girls Club Sports Lab, which helps to engage kids around sports in Kansas City that may or may not have access to organized sports. So there's lots to do. I serve on several committees throughout the city and love using that as getting connected to other professionals who have similar interests and similar outlooks on supporting community. I have done a lot of committee work that has been really interesting, really exciting, worked on some events, worked on lots of different things. And there's also been some committee work that while I was glad I did it, sometimes it can be a little stressful, and sometimes it can be something that I kind of afterwards, I was like, I'm not going to do that one again, which is what I'm going to talk about a little bit right now. So one of the things that I was asked to give a little bit of advice for young leaders as you're starting to kind of dip your toe in the water of giving back, and especially with Cystic Fibrosis Foundation or other organizations in your area. One of the biggest pieces of advice is look for opportunities to get involved with things you find interesting. Networking happy hours, volunteer opportunities, attend events when they're offered, grab a friend. I think I am a fairly outgoing person, but I don't really love networking events. So one of the biggest pieces of advice is grab a friend to bring along with you, because it's a lot easier to stand at a high top with your appetizers and your drink with a friend that you already know. But make sure that you engage with others at the event. And I always make a rule for myself that as long as I can make eye contact and talk to at least 4 people, introduce myself to 4 people, then I've done my job, and I can either hang out, and because by that time it usually tends to get a little more fun and start to know people, or if it's not for me, I can take off. But take a chance, do your research, get out there, look and see what might be fun, what might look cool to you, what might be a way to really engage with an organization. I will tell you that when I interviewed for my role, I was wildly underqualified, but I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. This is a job that would be a dream for me. I love engaging with the community. And so I went ahead and applied, and then basically contacted any person in Kansas City I could think of that may have a connection to the hiring manager. So he was inundated at the time with emails from my contacts asking to please give me a chance, give me an interview. And what was such a wonderful thing was that once I got in there, then I had to sell myself. But before that, I really used my contacts and used the ones that I had met at various, networking events or just volunteering at an event. Many of them were my nonprofit colleagues that I had kind of worked with. It's a great way to meet people volunteering, and even if it's just signing up for a random volunteer shift, you very quickly, when you're working with people in that sense, you very quickly get to know them. I kind of mentioned this before, but look for opportunities that you have an interest in, but be prepared to walk away if it's just not for you. I've said on many committees that after the event was over, I was like, yeah, I'm not going back to that one. It's a great event. I'll still continue to support, go out on event day, but it's not always going to be the perfect volunteer opportunity. And it's totally fine to go into it thinking that way and to really find your niche and find what you really love. Because, at the end of the day, when you're volunteering, you're taking time away from your family, from other interests that you have. And while it's a wonderful thing to want to give back, you should be having fun too. So I think it's a really great way to get involved in your community, give back a little bit, meet some new people. I have to say that through the years of serving on some of these committees and and working with a lot of different organizations in Kansas City, some of my closest friends have come out of those relationships. And so there's sort of a shared interest in giving back. And we know that volunteers have biggest hearts. Well, at least I think so. And so you really will find that you'll have a lot in common with those that you serve with. And, you know, there's, no matter what the volunteer opportunity is, you'll always feel good afterwards because you've given back to someone and you've helped support an organization that's doing great work in your community. So with that, I will go ahead and pass the torch over to Emily. Emily Bridges is responsible for the planning, development, and execution at Choate Construction's marketing initiatives. Choate Construction has been a longtime supporter of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and Emily is the driving force behind rallying their corporation to support their mission. Emily knows the world of commercial construction. Reputation is everything, and she's passionate about building, fostering, and protecting Choate's brand. Take it away, Emily.
All right, thank you, Michaela. Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you. Thanks for the opportunity to share. Like Michaela said, my name is Emily. I'm our Vice President of Marketing here at Choate Construction. We're a commercial contractor in the Southeast and beyond. We build all over. We have roughly six offices and roughly 515 employees. We build everything from automotive to senior living and the alphabet soup of sectors in between. But to share with you a little bit about Choate's background in the philanthropic world, our charitable involvement began on day one with the CF Foundation. And just as the company was being formed by Millard Choate, our founder, the CF struck the daughter of family friends. And that daughter happened to be my best friend, Leanne. When Leanne was diagnosed, the life expectancy was 13 years old. But, you know, as Leanne grew, so too did the company and our involvement in CF. So prior to my working here about 14 years ago, the company did all sorts of events, galas, golf tournaments, great strides, but we didn't have any real buy-in or passion around any of these events. We were spread really thin. What we did have was a contingent of people who loved cars. So as an adjunct to our Great Strides fundraising, we planned a little car show. The first year we had it out back in our parking lot. We invited a couple of car-loving business friends. You know, we had a few kegs, and I think I found a quarter on the ground, so we raised 25 cents. But, you know, we began to do the show each year as an adjunct, and it grew. And while our success did not happen overnight, eventually the show did grow to the point where we could let go of the actual Great Strides Saturday walk, which was okay because we struggled for participation there, quite honestly. And we put our energies into what we now call Cars in Q. Cars in Q has now raised a little over $2.5 million and has roughly 1,000 attendees and 150 sponsors each year. And you know, this is just one Choate office, Atlanta, and that's the event that I'm the chair for, but we have other offices that hike, shoot, drink, and paint, all for CF. Additionally, just as much as I want all of our charitable efforts to be leveraged for CF, we do have other offices that have their own philanthropic passions, and we have chosen not to stifle those or put any kind of CF only mandate in place because we feel like that just wouldn't work. You can't force people to be passionate about a cause, but you can rally them around one, and I'll touch on that in a moment. But you know, in this vein, we had all of these initiatives going on, and we found that we're starting to become disjointed again, and we felt like we needed something that unified our efforts, no matter what they were. So recently, we launched a brand new identity under the Choate name, which we called Building Up, Choate Philanthropy in Action. And this identity and program was designed to, you know, provide a name that we could all work under. It would capture all of our philanthropic efforts and puts a face to those many efforts and offers a way for our people to connect with each other. It also aligned with one of Choate's core values, which is stewardship. So, you know, that's generally speaking the Choate landscape. And in thinking about what those of you listening might be able to take and apply to your own organizations, I thought of three main areas, and I put them in automotive analogies, naturally. But the first one is to build a single inline engine. As you begin considering how to inspire your firm to buy into the concept of supporting CF, and I hope you are thinking about that, I would think about the fundraising mechanisms you want to put into play. Like I mentioned, back in the early days of Choate, we had too much going on, right? We needed a single event and initiative around which we could build awareness and rally people towards. Also something, a single event that the external community, i.e. those who are donating to us in a lot of cases, could remember and knew was coming year after year. So, we feel like that would show that we were dedicated to the event's success and the cause itself. And when choosing that event, kind of like Michaela touched on, I would encourage you, like we did, to consider where those passions naturally lie. Do you have an organization and a group that, are more family friendly, right? Do you do some kind of carnival or festival? Do your coworkers generally get excited about sports? Maybe you put together an event around March Madness. It's much easier to build on excitement that naturally exists rather than force the creation of it. So the second thing I've got for you is fueling your efforts. We all have various resources that, once leveraged and engaged, can be powerful allies in fundraising. They are the fuel for you. And a couple of those at Choate were, first, our fellow employees. Again, assuming you've picked a fundraising method that there's some passion behind, engaging that peer support is critical. And at Choate, we've done this in a couple of ways. First, we had to acknowledge the fact that most people don't have a CF connection, and we wanted to build that for them. So we have CF ambassadors come speak to our offices. We diligently share the successes of the foundation, and we do education for our employees around the disease and its impact. This is all for the sake of connecting our employees to the cause, thus making it easier and more natural for them to make that fundraising ask. And while not specific to CF, there are a couple of other ways that we connect employees to giving back. We have a matching gift program that will match any employee's 501c3 donation up to $1,000 annually. That's been amazingly successful, and people have really appreciated that here. We also give a PTO day just for stewardship on top of our normal PTO offerings. And you can also use your more active volunteering modes, like a race or a walk, towards our health insurance's wellness program, meaning reduced premiums. The second area of fuel for us was our fellow business community. And I will say we have been so blown away by the willingness our vendors and business associates have shown to support us in our CF efforts and beyond. Some just donate because we ask, which is okay, and I'll take that. But most understand that we are committed to this cause. This isn't a passing fancy or a quick angle for us to look good. We make it also worth their while to support us with sponsorship opportunities that make good business sense for them. Maybe it's FaceTime with our decision makers, exposure, things like that. And the third piece, the fuel for us that I think is really important, is the CF Foundation. Choate has found this foundation to be a huge component of our success. We internally dedicate a lot of time and resources, but the CF Foundation is willing to do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. And I've got to shout out to my Atlanta CF team. So they are the best, and we appreciate them so much. The foundation we have found is the perfect size to support us. They're not so small that they don't have resources to support Choate's efforts, but they're not so big that we're just a number to them, or our events aren't to the size that it would make sense for them to really support us. So I encourage you all to really think about the foundation, connect with your local chapter, and make them a part of your philanthropic plan. And then the final thing I'll say today, my other last automotive thought, is step on the gas and don't be scared, right? You may be listening and find the idea of walking into your senior leadership team meeting and proposing starting or amping up a philanthropic effort in your workplace kind of makes your stomach clench a little bit, and that is totally understandable. But I got a couple of thoughts for you there. And I'd encourage you to consider that corporate giving is more than just altruism. there are significant advantages and a return on the investment that corporate giving enables. And you're about to relay those to your team. So, I think about, the economy and the world that we're in and the war for talent that is currently happening. There are more jobs than there are people to fill them. And that's in all industries. And that'll be a crisis as us for young leaders to continue to manage into the foreseeable future. So when you consider a recent poll that 1 in 3 job seekers say it's extremely important in their organization to have a positive impact on the community, and the number of employees who are highly engaged goes from 40% to 60% at firms with good corporate social responsibility, your promotion of philanthropy suddenly becomes an employee attraction and retention tool, and therefore an impactful business proposition. It's also been found that 90% of consumers care about companies that are supporting charitable causes. So marketing your philanthropic success can have a direct and positive implication on your customer base, and again, therefore your bottom line. So corporate giving, quite simply, makes solid business sense. So that's what I've got for you today. Just remember, build that single inline engine, fuel your efforts with your resources, and then step on the gas. So with that, I will turn it over, and I'd like to introduce our third speaker, Maribeth Bendick. Maribeth has has many years of experience working in the information technology and in retail industries. Her current position is with Darty Business Solutions as the employee engagement lead, and the responsibilities of her role include overseeing the onboarding experience, supporting employee resource groups, committees and social groups, assisting in community outreach efforts, and she is a member of the Diversity and Inclusion Governance Committee. Her number one priority is to make sure her teammates feel supported and enjoy their work experience. So please join me, and I'm enjoying welcoming Maribeth.
Thank you, Emily. Also, a huge thank you to all of you, our attendees, for taking the time out of your busy day to learn more about the CF Foundation and how to grow your personal development skills. As Emily mentioned, my responsibility of keeping people happy at work is extremely important to me. I take this very seriously. For so many, where you work is where you spend the most time throughout the week. I want to ensure my coworkers enjoy Darty and feel the utmost love and support throughout their career. Over the past 6 years, I have helped drive employee engagement at Darty. Okay, so what is employee engagement? Employee engagement is the relationship between the employer and its employees. It's a newer, flashy concept for many companies, and it does take some time to wrap your head around it. As you can imagine, most companies have historically had the standard HR, accounting, marketing, sales teams. Unfortunately, having an employee engagement team is not a necessity. Business will carry on. However, good companies see employee engagement as an investment that truly pays off. Thankfully, I work at Darty and our leadership team understands the value of employee engagement. Darty's employee engagement team is the core support team, which is an acronym that stands for culture, onboarding, recognition, and engagement. Some of you might be wondering, how can I convince my senior leaders to build out a similar department and understand its value? The best business case that I've ever seen is super simple. Having higher levels of engaged employees increases profits. Yeah, that's right. Research and studies have shown that companies with higher levels of engaged employees also have an overall increase of job satisfaction and productivity, which closely connects with an increase to client and customer satisfaction as well. You will also notice a lower attrition rate and higher retention rate. Guess what? People are less likely to search for another job if they feel connected and are engaged in their current company. It is less expensive to retain current employees rather than hire and train new ones. Bottom line, employee engagement enhances company culture. There are a variety of categories of employee engagement, plenty of ways to build a relationship with the company and employees. Some examples at Darty include creating an onboarding experience, a warm welcome to our newest teammates, recognition, taking time to celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, and larger items like reaching goals or top performers. Another example includes providing networking opportunities to find ways teammates can connect with one another. Employee engagement also includes building out a company's CSR program, which will help strategize and promote community outreach initiatives. We can also engage employees by supporting all areas of employee wellness in a company's health and wellness program. And more recently, companies are investing in their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and creating employee resource groups. Okay, so I have 2 pro tips when planning an employee engagement event or activity. Grab some paper. Number 1, ask your coworkers what they are interested in. I believe Michaela and Emily touched on this as well, but it's that simple. You can do this a couple different ways. You can send out a survey or simply talk to your peers. But if you plan events that are geared towards your audience, there will be an increase in attendance and participation. Number 2, create an opportunity that has synergy in several areas of employee engagement, or find a connection between multiple groups. Darty's longstanding partnership with the CF Foundation has allowed us to do just that. Our senior leaders, Ron Darty and Lee Metcalf, are members of the board of the CF Foundation, the Gateway chapter. Team Darty has hosted and participated in various events over the years. One of my favorites has been the First Pitch event. It's a family-friendly event where owner Ron Darty would throw out the first pitch at the St. Louis Cardinals baseball game with a child who has CF. This event allowed our teams to raise a lot of money and awareness to CF. It also allowed our teams to capitalize on an event that correlates with family, social, and outreach components. Another excellent example of this is our current efforts with the CF Great Strides Walk. Team Darty is working with regional teams across the country, incorporating all areas of employee engagement. We are working with our health and wellness teams, community outreach committees, and social groups, reminding them of this family-friendly in-person opportunity. We are leveraging our footprint in multiple groups, connecting with one another to increase participation. Several weeks ago, Darty hosted a CF Great Strides virtual kickoff. We had leaders from many areas helping us promote the event and recruit more people to join our team. During the call, there were several teammates who shared personal CF stories, which really hit home to our teammates. We also offered virtual opportunities for those that are not located near a Great Strides Walk site. Truly, this event has allowed our company to come together, unite, fundraise for such a good cause. In closing, I'd like to share the best advice that I was given early on in my career. Invest in yourself. To provide a little more context, invest in yourself 5 hours a week, maybe an hour a day, outside of your regular work duties. What do I mean by that? I encourage everyone to step back, slow things down, create your career and personal goals, making sure they line up to one another. Then set yourself up to do things that align with those goals. The good news is you get to choose how to spend your time when you invest in yourself. Some examples include, but aren't limited to, raise your hand and step up to lead or join a committee. For example, be the team captain for the Great Strides Walk in your area. Another example is to bring new ideas or activities to the table. At Darty, we are always eager to hear what our teammates want. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Give back and volunteer your time to a charitable organization you're passionate about. Another example is to take time to do some self-studying. You can do this by signing up for an online course that interests you. You can also, a great example of investing in yourself is to build your network, both inside and outside your company. Introduce yourself and make connections. I loved Michaela's example of making it a goal to meet 4 people at a networking event. That's fabulous. You can also search for and find a mentor. Find someone you admire, someone you want to learn from. And then when you feel comfortable, mentor others. There's great value in growing your leadership mentorship skills. You can do all of this by saying yes more often. I hope hearing this information was helpful. As you can tell, I'm super passionate about employee engagement. If you feel the same, I encourage you to connect with me on LinkedIn and we can continue the conversation. Now I would like to introduce our fourth and final speaker, Evan Moore. Evan is a manager of strategic partnerships at Surgeon Accounting and Financial Education. He has been heavily involved with the Delaware Valley chapter of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation since 2018. Currently, he is the co-chair of Philadelphia's Finest with a specific focus on building and maintaining partnerships to secure corporate sponsorships. Welcome, Evan.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that kind introduction. There's been so many great tips and advice given out today. I really appreciate all the speakers, and I appreciate everyone being on today. So yes, my name is Evan Moore. I am a manager of strategic partnerships, and I, for a living, reach out to people and try to secure contracts, partnership agreements, new customers brought into our business. I'm also the co-chair of Philadelphia's Finest. For anyone who's not familiar with what Finest is, it is a professional development and networking program that also raises a lot of money for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. We bring in anywhere from 10 to 20 honorees in the Philadelphia region. We put them through a professional development program. They raise money for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and we have a big, nice, fun, fancy gala at the end. We're right at our midpoint right now. And so something that I wanted to talk to you all about today is securing sponsorships. Also, excuse me, I'm groggy as anything. Like I said, I'm in Pennsylvania. It is allergy season out here. So my allergies are all over the place. So excuse me for clearing my throat a bit. But a question I get asked a lot is, why are sponsorships important for Finest or for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation or Tomorrow's Leaders or any other foundation program? Well, sponsorships are a very quick way to bring in large sums of money all at one time. They also give us the ability to engage with businesses in our community, and bringing in new sponsors gives us an opportunity to build and maintain partnerships for years and years to come. Plus, on top of that, because we have a big finale at the end, having a lot of sponsors there, different logos, different business partners, it enriches the finale. It makes it seem like it's something big and exciting and grand, which it is. So we want to have as many businesses involved as possible. Now, I'm throwing around the term corporate sponsors, right, or corporate partners. How do we define that? Well, for our intents and purposes, we are considering virtually any organization or any business in our chapter's area. So that could be a retailer, a brick and mortar, e-commerce, financial, security, food service, hair salons. You get the picture. We cast a wide net when referring to corporate sponsors, so we can get a lot of different organizations involved in Finest. So something that I focus on a lot as the co-chair of Finest is how do we bring in new corporate sponsors? And that really does start with the honorees. I encourage our honorees to replicate my story almost to a T by reaching out to their own organizations, the businesses that they work for, so that they can secure a corporate sponsor for Finest. Now, when approaching your own organization, I know this has been brought up before, but really don't be surprised when they say yes. Employers want to support their employees' philanthropic efforts. It makes the company look good. It's good for the employee in terms of employee retention. And many employers are waiting for an opportunity like this to come along. They might just be sitting there going, I want to get involved in the community. I want to do charity work, but I don't know where to start. So when you bring them this type of opportunity, they'll jump at it. The example that I always give is my own story. Back in 2018, when I was an honoree, I had asked my organization, I was friendly with my CFO. We were a much smaller operation at this point. And I walked into his office and I said, would you be interested in doing a corporate sponsorship? Something very small, $500, $1,000. Well, they jumped and they said, we've been waiting for an opportunity like this to come along and have donated $5,000 to Finest for the past 4 or 5 years, including this year. So they're a partner that we can go back to every single year and almost guarantee on that type of sponsorship and that type of donation. So it's always a good idea when trying to secure sponsorships to start with your own employer, but where else do you go? Well, check your network. Your own personal professional network is a great way to look for sponsorship opportunities. Where do your friends work? Where do your former coworkers work? Things like that. Also, your family is part of your network as well. So where do your parents work? Your aunts and uncles, your cousins, your grandparents, you get the picture, right? But something that I think a lot of people don't consider, and again, this is why I cast a wide net when talking about corporate sponsors and defining that term, because a corporate sponsor can be your favorite hair salon, the comic book shop that you go to down the street, the antique store, a local brewery. What is your favorite pizzeria? What are the businesses that you interact with in your community the most? And how can you get them engaged? Can you use them as a corporate sponsor? So what is the best way to go about securing a quote unquote new corporate sponsor? Well, you're gonna have to do some outreach. And that's the part where I always hear people go, oh, outreach to a corporate sponsor. I know nothing about that. I wouldn't even know where to start. Well, here's a couple of quick tips that hopefully would be helpful for you if you're looking to secure corporate sponsorships down the road. So in-person or virtual conversation, literally just bringing it up in a conversation. I call this water cooler talk around the office, right? And your approach can always be very informal. Is it at a work happy hour? Is it during a call? Is it during a one-on-one with your manager that you bring up, hey, I'm looking to do this thing. I'm part of Tomorrow's Leaders. I'm part of Finest. I work with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. How can XYZ company get involved? Good tip. Those few minutes that you might have sometimes with your boss on a call while you're waiting for a client to pop on or someone higher up the chain to pop on, and you make small talk like, oh, how's the weather? Did you get a lot of snow? Oh, yeah, it was a crazy weekend. Use that time to talk about the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, talk about your philanthropic efforts, and try to outreach for a sponsorship. Seriously, it can be that simple and that informal. But the advice that I'll give there, if you're going to take an informal approach to approaching a decision maker, be prepared. Have a fast 20-second elevator pitch prepared when you're talking about cystic fibrosis, the foundation, Tomorrow's Leaders, Finest, any other program, Great Strides. Just try to get that down to like a 15 to 20 second. This is what we're doing. This is why we do it. This is what a sponsorship entails. Would you be interested? Boom. You can always send more information later, but you want to make sure you get their attention up front. Email outreach is also a really easy way to make a couple of new connections. But I'm going to give you a couple of email tips that go beyond just reaching out for corporate sponsorships. This can be applied to looking for new jobs, trying to prospect for work, whatever it might be. But for email outreach, keep emails quick and simple. 4, 5, 6 sentences tops. 2 paragraphs, nothing more. The mistake I see a lot of people do is you try to cram everything into an email. Here's what cystic fibrosis is. Here's the foundation. Here's the program that I'm working for. Here's what a sponsorship entails. All of a sudden, you've got a 10-paragraph essay with a thesis statement and an outline at the beginning trying to explain what it is. You ever hear the term too long, didn't read? That's what's going to happen there. So put together a quick, 1 to 2 paragraph tops email template that you can use to shoot out to different contacts as you're looking to secure sponsorships. Change the name, change the business, whatever it might be, but try to have a template. Also, this is just great life advice overall, and I figured I would share it. When you're sending out an email to a new contact, please do not include hyperlinks or attachments. You might not know this, but so many different businesses will actually filter their email inbox to put attachments and hyperlinks directly into trash or spam. What that does, and the reason that that happens, is to weed out sales calls, right? Or sales prospecting emails, because guaranteed open your inbox right now, especially through a work environment, you've got a couple of sales emails in there. When you're reaching out, don't include hyperlinks, don't include attachments, just have that little quick template and end it with something along the lines of, you know what, if you're interested, I'll follow up with more information. Once they agree to receive a hyperlink or they agree to receive an attachment, then you can include them. But if you're not in their contacts, you're outside of their organization, you've got 12 click here's, open the attached file, and it's some big 2 gigabyte file, they're not going to open it. So just something to remember. Another success story that I want to talk about, I mean, if anything coming out of my presentation here is that I really, really hope that you will kind of take away some of that fear around corporate sponsorships, that maybe that's not such a scary term. I had an honoree very recently come to me and say, you know what, I've never done this. I'm really not comfortable. I gave her these pointers, sat down with her for like an hour, helped her write out an email template, look for the right person in her organization. And now we're looking to secure a sponsorship for Finest with that honoree. You could also reach out to your local chapter for assistance on all of this. You don't have to fly around in the dark. As a co-chair of Finest, I try to make myself available to any honoree or committee member who would be interested in doing corporate outreach like this. But there are so many people at your local chapter that can help secure that, guide you in the right direction, help you find those contacts, put together those email templates. They're a great resource for where you can get started. Now, I know I threw a lot of tips and tricks at you. I know that we all did. And I'm sure that there are people on this call that are itching for to ask us a couple of questions. So with that, I'm going to ask the panelists to turn all their cameras back on. I'm going to throw it back over to Michaela, and I believe that we have a Q&A session scheduled. So with that, I'm going to mute as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks to the rest of the panelists. Such amazing information. I'm learning things as well, and made a couple notes for things to bring back to Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So really appreciate all of the insights. So we will go ahead and do some questions. Now, just as a reminder, please use the Q&A function, not the chat box, if you have questions, and we'll give you all a moment to get some questions submitted. We've got a couple that have come in already, so continue to submit those, and we'll go ahead and kick this section off to make sure we get to everyone. So first question is from Mary Beth, and you had chatted about your involvement with Great Strides. Can you share how you spearheaded that effort? And I gotta make my screen bigger. How you spearheaded the effort and how you managed the effort internally.
Gladly, I'd love to. So we have decided to, I mentioned this earlier, but utilize many different groups. So we're working closely with all of our health and wellness groups, our outreach groups. We have great support from our leadership team. They're members of the board. So this is truly a great organization. I think my best advice is finding the different connections, right? Leveraging that partnership with our leadership team. This is an organization that they are passionate about, taking that energy and pushing it out to our teammates. As we did that, we found a couple personal stories, and then that was really interesting to be able to share that with our teammates, and which is great. Anytime you can put a personal touch and have that relatable to our other teammates, they want to support one another. So that was really helpful. We're providing incentives for people to participate, t-shirts, points, different things along the way. We're also incentivizing people to attend the walk with a family gathering afterwards. So we're actually taking it a step further and making it fun, making it exciting. And, a lot of our teammates have not met people in person yet. We've been working virtually for over 2 years now. So I think that's what makes it really exciting, is just highlighting on those key points.
Great, thank you. Next question for Emily. Emily, charitable the organizations. How many organizations would you say your company supports through this new endeavor?
Yep. So Michaela, I think you might have broken up there just a tad, but I think the question was, we added that charitable arm and how many organizations do we support? That it could be a multifaceted answer. It depends on our office, company-wide. Actually, let me back up before I get to a number. The way that we have chosen to handle how we choose what to support, we have a couple of overarching organizations like CF and one or two others. CF is definitely the largest, that we support, and the way we put it is no matter the business connection, right? Those are our go-tos, those are where our passions are. And so those span the company. And then in each office, we have almost like a separate fund for, highly local organizations that speak to that particular group, or, business related asks, right? We want to support our clients' passions as well. So we make sure we allocate for that. We are 100% employee owned. So we feel like the monies that we are donating, we need to be good stewards of it. So we do have a pretty defined plan. And, you know, probably company wide, if I had to guess, we probably support 50 to 60 different organizations. Again, that might be, you know, a big, what we call a signature, a passion event, like I mentioned with the car show, or just honestly, you know, writing a check to support a local 5K. So it just does depend.
Great, thank you. Next question was directed to me. And the question is that I have a unique perspective with overseeing charitable requests. Any best practices to share with members looking to submit a request to their employer? Absolutely. I will say that we give to Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City gives to just under 300 different organizations in Kansas City. And there are, in Kansas City metro area, there are about 12,000 registered 501c3 organizations. Now, to preface that, roughly 7,500 of those have a budget of $50,000 or more. So there's lots of little guys, but also lots and lots of organizations, and we're just barely scratching the surface. So one of the things that we look for, and I think that the other panelists have kind of mentioned this, is what is the level of involvement of our employees? Oftentimes we start out with a walk or run to support organizations. We do have a fairly, we cast a wide net certainly of giving, but we do have a fairly good focused initiative, or excuse me, I can't find my words, a way of how we make the decisions on the organizations that we are able to give to. So we're really heavily focused on health and wellness, which makes sense because we are a health company, a health insurance company. So we can't say yes to everyone, but we try and, again, to the other panelists' points, say yes to those organizations and initiatives that our employees are passionate about. So if an employee is bringing to us, I really want to start, you know, a team for this or for this walk or run, or I want to get involved with this, go and volunteer, get involved, do something with that organization. And then if we can't say yes now, that doesn't mean it's a no forever. There are several organizations that as employees have gotten more involved and it's become more of a passion project, or they've gotten executive leadership to help kind of endorse their passion, then we've come back and said yes to sponsorship later on down the road. A no is not a no forever. So keep trying. We also, just to level set, we also get roughly around 4,000 asks a year at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. There's lots that we want to say yes to, but we just can't. But again, keep trying, keep keeping on. And then Evan, the next question for you, what's your proudest accomplishment as the finance chair for your chapter? And kudos to you on all of your efforts with helping to the program grow.
Thank you very much for that question. So this is my first year as the finance co-chair, but I've been on the committee for quite a few years. I would say that my most proud accomplishment, other than just the money that we raise and where that goes and the gala and the research that the foundation does, because I'm very proud of all of that. But last year, before I was a co-chair, I was actually able to bring on 3 coworkers directly out of my organization to be honorees. And to me, that spoke so much strength to the ongoing sponsorship that we secured with my organization, with Surgeon. It was incredible to be able to bring on 3 employees. So not only did we secure that sponsorship, we split that sponsorship 3 ways, and that went right to their pages. So it was a new way of not only getting coworkers involved, new people involved, my organization involved. And it was awesome to see at the finale. This finale was virtual, but it was great to see at the finale so many different facets of my own life kind of come together in one spot. And I'm a big proponent of mixing work and business and friends. Right now, I've got my girlfriend is a honoree for finance as well, and she's actually leading. She's leading in fundraising right now. So I would say that my proudest moments are really the ones where I kind of see all of my work spread over charitable efforts, work, personal life, and all kind of comes together in one nice bubble. I'm very proud of the work that I've done there, and I'm proud of the work overall the foundation does and our chapter, the Delaware Valley chapter, does. So yeah, I would say that's my proudest.
I love that. Love that. Get the people you're closest with involved in the things you love.
Absolutely.
So this is a question for all of the panelists. In our experience, what has seemed to be the biggest barrier to getting participation and engage employees in a new philanthropic initiative or event, and how have you tackled it? Does anyone want to jump in, or do you want me to take that for start off?
I can go ahead
Yeah,
and weigh in on this. Sure. I would say the most relevant, the most thing that's happening right now is the virtual world. So it's really shifted everyone to rethink our event planning process. We went from having in-person meetings to all virtual meetings. And I guess my best advice for that is to think outside the box. You know, we incorporated virtual happy hours and adding extra components to it, like a scavenger hunt or any sort of gamification could go a long way. As cheesy as it sounds, sometimes the cheesier the better. We have also connected with our groups. So we've had several groups co-host a happy hour, trying to, you know, form that relationship, that partnership, attract a larger audience. So that's been really helpful. And then we've also formed new groups. So over the last 2 years, we formed a book club, a chess club, a sustainability interest group. We developed a whole diversity and inclusion governance committee with ERGs underneath that. What I love about working at Darty is if someone has an idea and they bring it to the table, we're really empowered and excited to say yes to it. You know, it's something if employees are passionate about, we are too, and we take it and we run with it. And I enjoy providing multiple opportunities for people to connect. And not everybody's going to be interested in every single thing, right? But I think that every employee will find value in everything that we offer.
I can also just very quickly, this was brought up earlier as well. A barrier that I have found to getting people involved in anything is people afraid to put themselves out on a limb, right? So a lot of times it's good to delegate a lot of asks. So, you know, if you're forming a charitable committee or something philanthropic in the workplace, one of the asks that you'll have for people who are involved is, hey, could you ask everyone on your team to join this happy hour or anything like that? So many people are afraid of the word no, and this is a much bigger conversation, a much bigger concept. It's been brought up by every panelist. The worst thing that you can hear when asking for any sort of involvement, philanthropic, volunteerism, money, sponsorships, whatever, right, is the word no. That word is not really as scary as people make it out to be. So many people just be afraid of rejection. It's a natural human emotion. But if the worst thing that somebody can tell you is no, you say, well, thank you very much, and you move on to the next effort. So just get used to hearing the word no. And I just feel like that fear is such a barrier in so many different aspects of what we're talking about. So I wanted to bring that up. But when you get over that fear of rejection, that fear of being told no, the world becomes so much easier of a place to operate in, especially in this space.
I'll Evan. Oh, I think well, hope I'm still, okay, here we go. I think I'm back. I'll add to that. Unfortunately, it's my least favorite part of my job, but I have to say no a lot. But it's not because I don't like you, and it's not because I don't believe in the work you're doing, and it's not because I don't think it's an amazing, amazing organization. Because we have a budget, we have to stick to it. We have focus areas that we have to stick to. We have to make our own rules and follow our own rules. And so it's the very least favorite part of my job, but at the same time, I love learning about all the organizations when they come with an ask and they talk about their passion for the organization and why they are passionate about it. It's a wonderful piece of my job that I get to have a 10,000-foot view of lots of different organizations. We don't give to them all, but there's so much amazing work happening, and it's incredible. And oftentimes, something to keep in mind is that, at least in the community, funders talk to each other. Other funders who fund in different circles speak to each other, and they know what other organizations in their kind of sector are doing. And so oftentimes if we can't fund something, we'll be like, why don't you go ask Hallmark? They fund anything. We don't, you know. So there's ways to make new connections just by asking, and maybe it can even turn out to be better than what you expected. But again, just because we say no doesn't mean we don't like you. Not rejection. Because I'm trying to save my job and keep my budget intact, right? Well, thank you for that. Emily, there's a question for you. You mentioned a lack of familiarity or connection to a particular cause is a factor, and creating that connection for employees through education is essential. Do you have any other examples of this?
Yeah,
I'm sure if other panels have any examples too.
I think going back, to the last question of, what is the biggest barrier? And sometimes it can just be people's true understanding of the cause at hand, and what the understanding enables is the connection to it, right? And then from there comes the passion. And then I think the top layer of that, if you will, is like Mary Beth mentioned, giving people multiple ways to get engaged, right? So if you're, promoting or supporting CF, right? What we've done in the past, I threw out a couple of these generally, but one thing that was really impactful, and I still kind of, it's like a joke, but it worked. And like Mary Beth said, like the cheesier the better, is I would come in on the weekends and put something on everyone's desk that had a fact about CF associated to it. So maybe one week it would be Mike and Ike's, little candy that looks like pills. And it would be like, did you know a CF patient takes X number of pills, a month, or 100 grand bar, because one year for that car show, our goal was, $100,000. And so, just little things like that. Again, hearing from, the patient or whatever, the causes at hand directly. I joke, but I'm like, if we can make them cry, we'll make them engaged, right? I mean, so, really touching their heart, I think is really impactful. And then again, like Mary Beth mentioned, we have so many ways you can engage. Fundraising may not be your thing. Maybe you want to, haul coolers out to the parking lot for the car show, or set up the tent at the Great Strides Walk in Raleigh, having various ways that people can connect and feel like they're part of that overall effort, and that's the final thing I'll say. I think people want to be a part of something, right? That's a natural inclination. And so if you can provide that opportunity to rally people around and feel like they have a community that they're making an impact with, so powerful. Absolutely.
I think on that, we've got time for just one more question. We're right up against time. So quick, just sort of wrap up, I think. And this kind of goes in line with what you were just talking about, Emily, but this person's talked to someone on the team about supporting a cause that they're passionate about, but not receive much support. Any advice kind of about getting others involved and next steps for helping to support their cause? Anybody want?
Michaela, the question was next steps in getting people involved.
Yeah, they asked for some support for their cause that they're passionate about, but didn't receive a lot of support. What might be some next steps?
Gotcha.
I would say don't give up. Ask somebody else. Keep bringing it up. Many times you need to talk it up several times before you get that yes. And sometimes it's the first person you ask, but they were busy at the time. So ask again. Ask someone else. Think about whoever you're asking, what are their interests? How can you get through to them on what will make the most impact?
Another good strategy too is maybe don't ask for the thing you want as the first thing that you talk about in that. I mentioned a lot of that small talk, that water cooler talk. I mean, there's different touch points that you can bring up. I'm working on this. I'm doing this. I'm very excited to be a part of this. And that's kind of the lead up, the build up. You're kind of greasing the palms a little bit to say, well, now I'm looking for some sort of participation. So you have a smaller chance of, hearing no if it's something that it's familiar to whoever you're trying to get the ask from as well. So there's preemptive measures that you could take as well.
And I love Emily's point earlier about the maybe they don't want to give you money, can't give you money right at this moment. Maybe they want to haul a cooler somewhere, or they want to go to Costco and get a bunch of waters for your event. Who knows? Like either maybe it's not money, maybe it's a job or pick something up for you or something like that. Maybe just give more opportunities to get back. Great. Okay. Well, I think we're totally at the end and even 1 minute over because there's been so many great questions and so wonderful conversation from our panelists today. So I want to thank you so much to speakers and everyone who attended and taking the time to join today's call. We hope that you'll continue thinking about the connection between corporations and the nonprofit sector and how you can involve your workplace in supporting the mission of Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.